today we're going to learn about factoring by grouping. So factoring by grouping is involved when you have four terms or two binomials that you can combine together that you have to find something in common. So we're going to do factoring by grouping. I'm just going to title this here. Factoring. Always finding what you can pull out that they have in common. So factoring by grouping, and don't mind the writing, it's been a while since I've made a video, and hopefully this one goes well. So the example I'm going to give you first is, let's do 3x cubed minus 6x squared minus x, and let's do plus 2. Let's see. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to take these first two terms, and I'm going to use a different color here. I'm going to use red. You want to group the first two terms in parentheses, but let me undo that. It's a little sloppy. We're going to group the first one here and the second term together. Now make sure that this negative symbol here, this negative sign, stays with the second set of parentheses because it belongs to that x. So you're going to group the negative x and the plus 2. Now we have two groups that we can factor out. So I'm going to go back to blue. Well, you look at this and you say, well, what do they have in common? Well, we know they both have a variable. They both have x's. The one on the left, the 3x cubed, has 3 x's, and the right has 2 x's. So what that means is we can only pull out what they have in common. So if this only has 2, but this has 3, you can only take 2 away, because you can't take 3 because this one doesn't have 3. So the first thing we're going to say is we know that there's an x squared in common that we can take out. Also, we know that 3 and 6 are both divisible by 3. So you can say we can take out a 3x squared. So we're going to take out the 3x squared by division. So let's do it one step at a time. 3 divided by 3 leaves us with 1. So you can put the coefficient of 1 here, but you don't have to. I personally don't like to. I think it confuses people. But 3 divided by 3 is 1. And then when you're dividing bases that have this bases with exponents that require or have the same base, you subtract the exponents. So you just say x and x are the same base, so I'm dividing, I subtract. 3 minus 2 is 1. So I'm left with x, or x to the first, but again, I'm not going to put it because it confuses a lot of people. And now you're just going to bring down this negative sign, because if you think about it, you're going to say negative 6 divided by 3 gives us a negative number. Negative divided by positive is negative. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. And guess what? The x squared is gone because there is, by division, 2 minus 2 is 0. So there's our first term. We pulled out a 3x squared and we're left with x minus 2. Now, for this term right here, the only thing they have in common really is a negative sign. So the negative, now this is where I will put the negative 1, because if you pull out a negative 1, negative divided by negative is going to give us a positive. So all that's going to do is change that x to a positive. Finally, if you say 2 divided by negative 1, or positive 2 divided by negative 1, is going to yield a negative 2. And this is factor by grouping. So now you have to see that these two answers are similar. You have an x minus 2 here, and you have an x minus 2 here. However, you only need one of them in your answer. So I'm going to use pink here, and you already know that you need one of them to complete your answer. So you're just going to bring one of them down, keep it in parentheses. The other term that you're going to see that comes from your answer is the 3x squared minus 1. Now that's why I put the minus 1 here, because you're going to write your second term as 3x squared minus 1, and you're going to put it in parentheses. And normally they're very close together, but what this means is this is factored out now. You took 4 terms, grouped them, and then you factored out what they had in common here, and now you see that you have an answer. So what that means again is if you take these 2 answers together and you FOIL them, you will get this answer back up top. They are interchangeable. So let's try another example here, and let's see if we can make it a little more involved. Let's see. Let's see what I can do here. Let's think of another example. The next example I'm going to give is, let's see. Let's do x cubed. Let's do x cubed plus x squared plus 3x minus 3. So let's do plus 3x minus 3. Okay. So again, what we do to start off, I'm going to try to use the same colors here. Red, we'll start off with the first 2 terms you're going to group together. So we're going to take these 2, we're going to group them. And we're going to take the last 2 terms in the same color, orange. Again, this plus sign, make sure you keep it with the term, 3x, because it belongs to it. And now you're going to say, well, what can we factor out from the first group that we formed? Well, just like the first example here, you have 2 x's here and you have 3 here. So the most that you can take out is 2 because this one's minimum is 2. So we're going to say we take out an x squared. And again, when you're dividing, you subtract the exponents. So 3 minus 2 is 1. So we're left with x. And again, here's where this comes into play. You have no x's left when you divide 2 divided by 2, when you divide x squared by x squared, so you're left with 0 as an exponent. However, anything to the 0 power is 1. So you're left with x plus 1. Now, let's see what we have in common here. Well, we see there's a 3 and a 3. So what we can take out is we can say, well, this one's positive, so why not just go with the positive 3, right? So again, I apologize for the color change here, but we're going to factor out a 3. So we're going to factor out a 3, a plus 3, and I'll switch to colors now. But if you factor out 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1. So you're left with x, right? Or 1x, however you like it. And then if you say negative divided by positive is obviously going to give us a negative, right? So in this certain scenario, well, maybe we should decide that this should be a negative 3, because if we take out the negative 3, it's still going to leave us with a negative x, which doesn't really work out, but we can't have the negative x. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to do the positive 3. Negative 3 divided by positive 3 yields a negative 1. Okay? Now, in this scenario, you have 2 answers that are not the same. So this x plus 1 and this x minus 1 do not match. So what you would say is that you cannot factor out a common binomial. So I'm just going to put here, cannot factor out common binomial. And what that means is this one is pretty much unfactorable. So here's your 2 examples, and let me just fix the colors on this first one here just so you can see the consistency. This one should be red and it's really sloppy, but just I think you get the point. This should be red to match the top one, and your 2 examples are split. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope I see you in the next video.